Are you searching for the best in online black radio? Then go to blacktalkradionetwork.com, helping you filter through the noise. Real talk, black talk.
She ain't no field nigga, but she ain't good enough for the house no more either. They gonna try to make her a comfort girl.
What's a comfort?
Oh.
You don't get to be
I am not jealous. I'm aware. There's a fox in my hen house.
Did you just say hen house?
It's a metaphor.
I am not a hen, and my house is not yours.
You know what? I don't want to fight anymore. I don't trust Jake.
You made him head of B613. If that's not
Oh, is
trusting
that what
him...
this is about? You don't like my choices? What are you battling me for Jake's soul? Jake is not your father.
Who you made an enemy
Your
of!
father had to go, and I needed someone who was on my side.
You just said you didn't trust Jake.
I don't trust him with you. Now he's compromised.
He is not compromised.
He is compromised. He now has a reason to be disloyal to me. He wants you. He will fight me for you. He will try to win you.
Oh, 2 for 2.
What?
1, I am not a hen. 2, I am not a prize at the state fair. You can't win me.
You were trying to twist everything
Because
I
what
said.
you're saying is twisted.
Will you just give me a chance?
You
Would
think
you
I
just
care?
Will you just shut up and let me talk? Liv, you did this thing. And I know you did it for me or because Melly made you think you were doing it for me.
I didn't do this for you. I did not do this for you. I did this for me. So I could work on the campaign. So I could walk down the street and not be whispered about. So I could stop being known as the woman who screwed the president so the scarlet A on my chest could be invisible so I'm not a joke. I am a person. I am not a hen. I am not a prize. And I have a business to run, people to support, a life to lead, a desire to wake up and face myself in the mirror every day. Once I fixed a presidential election, and I'd like a chance to right that wrong. Your wife may be many things, but on one thing we are united. I cannot honestly win a presidential election if I am your public whore.
That was actress Danielle Watts in the 2012 film Django Unchained. That actress says Los Angeles police detained her last week because they allegedly thought she was a prostitute.
Whore.
Watts, who's African American, and her white boyfriend claim police racially profiled the two of them after they were seen kissing in public.
Oh, you make me feel good. Can you make me feel good? Can you make me feel good? Can you make me feel good?
Whore.
And it may be, and I'm not unwilling to critically look at this. It may be just a personal desire on my part to find a kind of soothing lotion so it doesn't feel so painful what it is that you're saying. So I'm not unwilling to look at that.
Just make me feel good. Just make me feel good. I want to feel good. I want to feel good.
Context of White Supremacy. Gus T Renegade, Justice, in for another broadcast, hopefully to share constructive information on the system of racism, white supremacy. Today's date, Sunday, October 19th, 2014. So I have been told. Make sure you share the broadcast. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, any other social media outlets that you utilize. Let folks know we are broadcasting live if you think it would benefit them. I know this is many people's favorite subject matter under the system of white supremacy racism. Always important to address the horrors of being sexually involved with white people, and why none of us, males, females, should be involved with white folks in the bedroom. I think a lot of us have heard the mythology. It's really dangerous. The lie that somehow if we do a little bit more what they call interracial hooking up, that will solve this problem. That will take care of racism, and we'll all be doing great, practicing justice, no more mistreatment if we just hook up. And nothing could be further from the truth. And even the real fallacy when they go to those sort of statistics, there aren't a whole lot of white people marrying black people. That's one of the things that they really try to minimize. They'll try and include everybody. Most white people are not going to marry a black person, male or female. That is just spectacularly false. Now, they will do a whole lot of rolling around in sheets. That's where I always make a distinction. I said marry. That doesn't mean that they aren't down to do a little roll around in the back seat or whatever the case may be. Sure, that's great. But marry? Absolutely not. White people are not going to do that in large part. Anywhere on the planet, they are not going to be marrying a black person. At any rate, neither is good. Not marry, not fooling around, not nothing. We have enemies. They are white. We should keep that in the forefront of our mind. Our guest for today's program, she has been very honest, very accurate, in my opinion, in her presentation on this subject matter. We have discussed her very important text before on the broadcast. I have written a book review of the piece. It's on Amazon.com, also on my blog, racism-notes.blogspot.com. Excerpt from her text. As said before, the code says it is incorrect for non-white people to refer to themselves or pretend that they are grown men and women. The reason is that no person, non-white, who is subject to white supremacy, racism, is grown. All persons, non-white, who exist in subjugation to white supremacy are in a relatively primitive, retarded, childlike, and or underdeveloped condition in all areas of activity, including economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Through the skillful use of deceit and or direct violence, the white people who practice white supremacy forced all people classified as non-white to function as children in all their relationships with people classified as white. Black females know this is true. Why else would they constantly demand black males to be a man? The problem is that black females refuse to accept the fact that the racists have reduced them to function as girls and not women. Black females are girls in a big-time fantasy about relationships and marriage. Page 33. Reneathia Tate's Pieces of a Puzzle. Real pleasure to have her on the program again. If folks haven't read the book, I would definitely encourage, get a copy. Lots of accurate information. And even though the book is mostly focused on black females with white men, it also does have very detailed accounts about how this is horrendous for black males as well. That's not as much of the main topic in the book, but that is also included, and we have discussed that on the program with Miss Tate before. Real pleasure to have her back with us, her fifth visit, joining us live. Miss Reneathia Tate. Miss Tate, are you with us?
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
For sure. Thank you. Glad to have you back on the program. I know a lot of folks, they always look forward to having you on the program, and I'm under the impression that many of our listeners have gotten a copy of your book once they heard about it and or heard you on the program. They definitely wanted to check it out, and I have heard good things from the people who have picked it up, read what you had to say, and hopefully they have applied what they read in their behavior and terms of who they allow into their bedroom and who they steer clear from. Anything that you want to share with listeners before we get started?
Yes, I'd just like to talk about where my book, of course, is about sex, but I wanted to, because of the violence that we've been seeing in the media with the black males and everything, I wanted to talk about sex with war, because that's where we are in a war. And oftentimes, racist white people will mix sex with war. Okay, so there's that violence there too. But if we talk about the war, I wanted to really talk a little bit about the war, and then of course with the sex. But one of the things that we need to know that we are in a war, and this war is a subtle kind of war. And the war, on our part, is about self-control. We're in a war of self-discipline, self-control, okay? And of course, the people that we are in the war with are the racist white supremacists. And they are very violent people, and they promote violence, okay? And when they mix sex with war, they make it more soothing for us. But it's still going to be a certain amount of violence that takes place with that sex, okay? So they will say, I love you, or in the name of sex, or be loving toward us. But still, in their own little way of being very deceitful, you still will, in turn, encounter violence in some form or another. There will be violence when we associate that with sex. But this is a war that we in, okay? And as black males, and black males are taught as young boys to desire white females or light skin. Okay, so they are taught this in elementary school, okay? And then eventually this is why they get caught up with white women, and then from there we go into there's some type of violence. Whether it be a black male killing another black male for a white woman, there's some kind of violence that's in there as we try to understand white supremacy and how they control us. And of course, what we need to do, we need to control ourselves. This is a war of self-control, self-discipline, okay? And but before we can say I'm going to control myself, we have to deprogram ourselves, okay? So when we deprogram ourselves, we talk about black males, for instance, if they were taught to go after light skin and white skin, then something should be done about that. Maybe the black male need to learn how to deprogram himself, because we are all programmed to act a certain way and to be a certain way, okay? So once we know that, we need to take the steps in the process of trying to deprogram ourselves in the same manner as we deprogram ourselves, we also develop self-control, self-discipline. And we need that because we are in a war, you see.
Context of white supremacy. I just try and point out all the time, definitely agree with what you started off with. Dr. Kamba, and he reminds me when I speak with him regularly that white people are waging a war against us. I think a lot of times people will say that we are in a war or we're at war with white people. They'll say, no, white people are waging war against us. We are not waging war against them at all. We are, as you said, not at all showing any self-control, self-discipline. You have to be very self-disciplined, very organized if you're going to wage war, and that is not the stage that we are at presently at all, unfortunately.
That's right.
Just, I guess, for clarification for folks that are listening in, when you say that we need to develop a certain level of self-control, that we're lacking self-control or self-discipline, what specifically do you mean when you say that, and how is that manifested, our lack of self-control, self-discipline?
Well, like I said, I started off talking about the way the black males are programmed to or desire. Well, that's what we are taught in school. That's what they are taught in school through storytelling and Hansel and Gretel, all those fairy tale stories. So that's the program. But it's a lot of different things, a lot of different programs, how they got us programmed to act, to be thugs, to be whatever. And those are the type of things that we just following a script, and we need to realize that we are following a script. We all been scripted to act a certain way. And when we do not act that way, then they're going to really focus on us because we all scripted, okay? And I did talk about that in the book when I talk about a prototype. We are all programmed to act a certain way, okay? And you just have to basically, if you just study black people and watch us, we are not really ourselves. You understand what I'm trying to say? We are really not acting and functioning the way we really should be. See, we keep a lot of nonsense going. But if we did more constructive things with our time, that would show off some self-control. If we would do more reading and asking more questions. And when you ask questions, that makes you want to read. But we are mainly taught to just not really think. We are not thinking. We're just taught to react. We do a lot of reacting toward things instead of thinking about it. You know what I mean? So we are really not, we are just scripted, basically, and we are not in control, you see. So now when we talk about black males hanging out and doing things, if they were doing something more constructive with their time instead of hanging on street corners and getting into mischievement, the police may not have a reason. Sometimes we give them a reason, or we give racist white men who wear uniforms a reason to become violent because we are not doing nothing constructive with our time. Okay? And then we're doing things that will bring that attention to ourselves, that negative attention. Okay, and we want to, if we had more self-control, then we wouldn't be in those positions to be attacked or whatever, things like that we encounter with the racist white people. I hope that's kind of explained a little bit.
Absolutely. I'm so glad to hear that, because that is something I try to emphasize on a regular basis in terms of us. We have been trained to not be efficient and to really not value our time and energy, and to just waste a lot of time on nonsense that directly or indirectly supports the system of white supremacy. And exactly as you said, a lot of black males participating in a lot of behaviors that attract unnecessary attention, that lead to unnecessary problems, being arrested or killed, or just all kinds of things. Even if it doesn't go that bad, just all kinds of things where just if we had a higher value on our time with regards to what we were doing, that right there could eliminate a lot of the problems that racists like to make for us that are just totally unnecessary. You talked about the fact that we are in a war right now, and how you have so many manifestations of black people just being killed. Seems like almost every day it's some new image of whether it's Michael Brown or Eric Garner, Reneathia McBride, Kajime Powell. Just every other day it's a new image. And you said that racists, they will like to add the sex element in to make it a little more soothing so that you don't really think that it's a war. Have you been seeing that manifested over the past year or so?
Well, the fact that we are still with them, and the fact that nobody is talking about it says something is going on that's keeping us quiet. And that means also that either we are being raped or we are being robbed. And that normally is sometimes associated with a little violence or could be very subtle. Nevertheless, the effect that it has on us keeps us quiet, and it may be traumatizing, which also could be reasons why we don't talk about it, but we definitely should not be in bed, but we have to deprogram ourselves first because we are attracted to white people, and they made us attracted to them, okay? While at the same time, but that keeps their program going of keeping us like in a childlike state. You see what I'm saying? We stay in a childlike state with a state of mind when we are functioning with them like that. So if we can stay out the bed with white people, that's a little bit of self-control. You see? But how are we going to do that? We got to deprogram ourselves, particularly the black males who desire this light skin. You see? You got to first deprogram yourself first. You see? And then you develop your self-control.
What would that deep? Oh, did you have more? Or?
No, well, it was the same thing with the black females that are in bed with white men. We didn't get programmed. The females really didn't get programmed. But we got programmed for material things. And that's usually what causes us to go to bed. Because the white men can do more for us. But at the same time, it's still a little bit of violence going to be there. Or they're going to make us do something or convince us to do something that's very embarrassing. Okay? And this is why we keep our mouth closed. You know, there's several reasons, of course, but another reason is they might have us do something that's very embarrassing to ourselves, very degrading. But it's all about keeping this war going on and keeping us in a childlike state, keeping us out of control, very emotional, off balance. Can't control our emotions, and it's all aimed at keeping us in like children. So the way that we start to come out of this is with some self-control. We do not have to go to bed with them, black males or females. They do not have that much control. They got control over us, but at least when it comes to the sex, we can say no. Okay, now we go to work, we may not be able to say no, because we do have to survive, and they got control of our survival. Okay, but when it comes to that bedroom, we can say no. See, we can say no. I don't want to do that. We don't have to go to bed with them. And if we did that, that will show that we have a little bit of self-control. That will make a lot of changes. See, when black people change, they're going to be noticed because white people, racist white people, they study us. They keep their focus on us. So every little change, if we make it, if we ain't acting stupid like the way that they script us to act, then okay, they're going to take notice. Okay, they will take notice to that. If black males get off the corners and go in the libraries and start reading, because that's what we have to do to deprogram ourselves. We have to do a lot of reading materials. It's a lot of stuff that black scholars wrote about this issue, the issue of race, and psychiatrists wrote about that. Some things that I know, I did a lot of reading to find out how they programmed us as little kids, you see, to desire white, to desire light, okay, and to get us in bed, and then to act out be very deceitful, and then act out this violence with us, you know.
You touched on some aspects of the deprogramming process. Reading, that was one of the things that you talked about. how else, like, if just in terms of practical things that we should be doing to deprogram for black males who've been conditioned to seek out either white women or more pale, lighter skinned females. What are other like specific detailed things that we can be doing and things that we should not be doing that are part of that becoming self-disciplined and getting some self-control? What are practical things we should be doing or not doing?
Yeah, we are basically, we are not ourselves, see, and, if I can just name a few more things, like I said, if we read more, see, we don't ask enough questions. We need information. We need to learn how this system is operating over us, that's controlling us, okay? So what do? White people study black people. And then that's how they can get us, manipulate us, and get us to just act like a puppet. Okay? So what if we say, I'm going to study white people? I'm going to take time out and change, just do something different. Instead of hanging on the corner, like I said, go to a library. Let's do some reading. Let me ask some questions. But you got to first start asking questions. So that's one thing. We are not asking questions. If you ask questions, that makes us think. We are not thinkers. We need to become thinkers. We need to become problem solvers. If we are able to think and solve problems, because they give us a lot of problems, and we need to be able to think and to solve our problems. Okay? So that's what they give us. So if we're able to change that, we can change our thought process. And that's what we need to do. To be deprogrammed, you have to change the way you think about things. You got to change the way you see things. Okay? And then you got to realize that you have been programmed or scripted. A script has already been written, you know what I mean? And they talked about the Willie Lynch. All of that is in there. You know, how we're going to get them to act a certain way. And that's what they did. Okay? And that's why I said about and having something constructive with us to do with our time. Of course, in the code lays that out. Cleaning things and doing things, trying to do something constructive with your time as opposed to destructive. You know, see, which we want. We want to move toward that. We want to move toward being people who study. All we need to be doing is studying so that we can learn something. But in order to study and all this stuff, you got to ask questions. You got to be able to think. We are not thinking. We are reacting to certain things as opposed to saying, I'm going to think about it for a minute. You know, and they keep us in that reacting thing. We need to be able to think. Okay, take the time out to think and take that time. And then we need to learn, what we need to learn is how they are operating a system over us and how it works. Okay? And then how to get out of it or how to counter it. So we got a lot of work to do. It's nothing, like we got a lot of work to do. And then, of course, the self-hatred is there. While they was programming us to like white, and they was programming us to hate ourselves. You see, so we got a lot of work to it that we need to be doing that's on a constructive level. And then we may not be able to attract violence, because some of us will attract violence to us based on what we're doing, you see. So if we are able to do something more constructive with our time, we will not be able to, we won't attract as much violence and stuff to us,
Absolutely. I wanted to, I had couple just current news things that are kind of tying together what you talked about with regards to the way we've been programmed. There's war being waged against us, terrorism, and how they will mix the sex element in to make it soothing. But just before I taught in some of the other current events, a part of that process of us gaining some self-discipline, some self-control. You mentioned the importance of reading, asking questions, studying, becoming better problem solvers. Do you think it would be constructive to minimize the amount of time that we spend around white people in that process?
Oh, yeah, well, we have to minimize the amount of time we spend around each other, black people. Because we got to remember, if we stand back and just look at how we act, if we just study each other, we would say that we are kind of nuts. You see what I'm saying? So black people also need to have less contact with each other. That's more study time. You know, because we are programmed to really, we are way out of control. Arguments all over. It's just a mess. But so if we took out the time and said, let me just go study some black people and watch how we act. Okay? And we stand back and say, yes, we ain't acting right. Something is wrong with us. So maybe I need to stay by myself a little bit. You know, minimize our contact with each other. And of course, sometimes you do what you can because we do have to go to work. And it may be a little difficult to minimize your contact with white people, but white people normally minimize their time with us, being around us, okay, until they want some mess to start, you see. You know, and that's how that goes. They may minimize their time spent around us, but yeah, black people, we need to minimize our time spent around each other. Because if we're not doing nothing constructive with each other, it's going to blow up. See, into some type of bickering, argument. So we need to be constructive around each other, too. When we minimize our contact with each other, you know. And, of course, with white people. But, yeah, we do need to study, though. We need a lot of studying, and we do have a lot to talk, you know, to study. You know, there's 9 areas of people activity. Sex is one of them. War is another area of people activity. And we need to study these areas. And if you can study one area, you're able to talk about different areas. Because they all link together. How we spend our time is linked to what white people say, how we going to spend our time. They got control over everything. How we spend our time is something that they developed, and they got control over that, too. You see? Okay, so we realize that this is why we call it a system. It's a system that we're under, and they got control over all of that. But we don't have to have sex with them. Okay, and then if we did that, that would disrupt their program. Tremendously, it would disrupt their program. If all non-white people said, no, we're not going to have sex with them, that would be a disruption. Would make them real nervous. See? Real quick, real nervous. If we're not acting a fool, because that's what they expect us to do, keep acting a fool. Keep them running, keep them in the bed with us, and keep them acting a fool. When we got control, we can relax. But when they stop having sex with us, there's a problem for them. You see, there's a problem for them. But for us, we are basically, sex is connected to our minds. You know, we are weak-minded. We need to build strong minds. And that's how you do that. And then they can leave mental scars on us, too. With that sex, they leave mental scars. So there's so many reasons why we should not be having sex with them. Because they also leave us with mental scars.
Absolutely. And that's a point we try to emphasize as well. It leaves damage, that bedroom activity with racist man and racist woman. The current event, as I said, you tied it together, that the frequently sex and war. And I've heard Mr. Fuller, when he talks about it, even though his 9 areas of people activity, they are in alphabetical order. No coincidence, sex and war, right together, 8 and 9. One of the current events, and I don't think this got as much attention as what happened with Michael Brown and Ezell Ford and Reneathia McBride, some of the other incidents that have been big news for most of this year. Lennon Lacy, he's a 17-year-old black male who was found hanging from a swing set in Bladenboro, North Carolina in August of this year, and didn't get much attention at all. And if you can imagine that, because that was right in the middle of when Ferguson was huge news. Everybody was talking about that every day, all day long. And a black male is found hanging from a tree, and that didn't get much attention at all. And I'm reading this report. It's titled 17-Year-Old Boy Found Hanging by His Neck in North Carolina Trailer Park for Dating a White Woman. Now I'll just scroll down and read a little bit, and you can let us know if you think this plays into what you were talking about. But it reads, according to The Guardian, Bladenboro is a town that's about 80% white, 18% black, and is even called Cracker Town by residents. About 86 people were hanged in Bladenboro between 1882 and 1968, and a couple of neighbors who eventually embraced Lacy because he was a young man who had friends of all backgrounds were once ordered by police to take down Confederate flags and a sign that said, "Niggers keep out," in front of their home a few years ago. They said that their own son had been pushed around by some kids in a state of anger. The man of the house, Dewey Sykes, put the sign and flags up. Thinking back on his decision, Sykes feels bad. I regret it now. Bladenboro is known for racism. One interesting fact about this story is how the 17-year-old boy had been sexually active with a 31-year-old white woman by the name of Michelle Brimhall. Michelle Brimhall recently left her husband in February before relocating to Bladenboro, where she started seeing Lennon Lacy. In case you didn't know, the age of consent is 16 in North Carolina. Michelle Brimhall even spoke out about the death of her lover and said he would have never tried to kill himself. I'll stop there just for the now I'm in Washington State, which is a long way away from North Carolina. In Washington State, if you are a minor but over 16, so we're talking between 16 and 18, it is statutory rape if you have sexual intercourse with someone who is more than 5 years older than you. So if this case, he was 17, he couldn't legally have consensual sexual intercourse with anyone above the age of 22 in Washington State. And it's my understanding that it's that way in many other areas. So even, at least in this state, this would have still been rape, even though he was over 16. At any rate,
right.
This type of incident, if this is accurate, what has been reported, how did this play into what you talked about with the war and sex?
Well, if you look at it, and white people, when they have fun. When they sex with us, this means fun, because they like to spoil the innocence of black people and non-white people alike. They know that we are childlike, and they like that. They like to spoil that innocence. There's an innocence about us because we're childlike. Some things they have to teach us that we don't know, So this is part of their excitement and why they like to have sex with non-white people too. And because we are basically functioning like children. Okay? So they teach us all the things we know and don't know about sex in that bedroom. They teach us that. Everything, all those things that we do, that we thought came up with it. No, they the ones that taught us this. This is why they enjoy having sex. So we saying, in white supremacy, replace it with justice. Black female, this is what you're supposed to be saying to these white men. When they come and say, well, you know, I have some money. Yeah, money runs out. Okay? I want you to produce justice. I'm not going to let you have my body and have fun with me until you all do something real big. Produce justice. I'm holding you to the highest standard. We need justice. Stop killing. Stop all this killing. Stop all this fighting, arguing, all this mess. Okay, we want you to produce justice before I have sex with you. So if you don't do it, at least there's stipulation. Don't just give it away. Not that easy. Not to nobody. That's no males, and you want to hold them to the highest. And the highest thing that we need justice. We need white supremacy to end. Now, of course, they probably won't do it. But that's how we should if we're going to hold ourselves, to a higher standard. We're not supposed to just be letting our bodies go for any reason. Especially to white men, we need to produce justice. We got the gift, and the gift is between our legs. Okay? We got the gift is between our legs. Now, this goes for black males, too. Black males, we are supposed to be having sex with them until they do something constructive with their time. We're supposed to be forcing our males to do something more constructive with their time. And we can hold our sex back. Black females need to hold back the sex. Know when to give it away. Because we the ones that's walking around with the gift. We got the gift to bring forth life in a pleasurable way. So we should hold ourselves out there and say, no, we want you to produce justice. I don't care about that. Yeah, I care about that money, but I need to give me a job. I don't have to give, sex for money. Produce justice. Produce justice before we have sex with white men. And then we're supposed to say the same thing with black males. For black males, we have to say, do something constructive. Do something productive with your time. Yeah, the females, if they knew what we had between our legs, especially the white men like them young girls, those young black females, okay, because they young and they innocent, okay, same thing. Produce justice. We want justice. We want justice. But we got to know what justice is. We got to know what we're asking for. So we got to do some reading. We got to do some understanding, get some understanding. So that when we say, I'm not going to do this, I want you to produce justice, we don't fall for, anything that they produce. You see, we got to know what it is. We have to study. We want them to end white supremacy. All this skin stuff. It's nonsense to be basing something based on color. To be hurting people based on color. That's all nonsense. This is stupid. This is why white people can't elevate themselves mentally either. Because they're supposed to be thinking higher than what they thinking on. But they can't think any higher than that because they got their foot on our necks. Okay? And they can't think higher. Yeah, they are adults. Yeah, they are more smarter than us. But they're not smart the way they should be. Because they're busy watching us and got their feet on our necks, that none of us can elevate. They can't elevate either because they got their foot on our necks and we can't elevate. They can't elevate. They need to grow up. They need to cut off being so savage. See, black people are primitive and white people are savages. They got to come out of that savage state. And we got to come out the primitive state. Okay? And all of us supposed to elevate. You know, it's so much, it seems out here in the universe, we're not even using our brains because we can't be into this race thing. Over what, maybe? Because of genetic annihilation? Because our skin is more dominant? Is it that, if, you know, our genes are strong because we got the stronger genes? You see? Okay, well, then okay, no sex then. No sex with y'all then. Don't produce, we won't produce. But y'all want to have fun with us, and they want to have fun with black people to our expense, where we trying to get needs met because we like children, and then we get all scarred up mentally behind this stuff, caught up in some type of situation. No, we don't have to do that. We don't have to have sex with white people. Tell them no. Produce justice. We don't have to do that. They have to produce justice. And that's what I put the pressure on the black females for. Because we are the females. We are the ones that's walking around with the gift. And white males are males. And they like having fun with us. You see. So I'm saying no. And we all should be saying no. We want justice. We want y'all to end white supremacy and replace it with justice. We have to, again, we got to study, we got to understand what we're asking for. You better know what you're asking for when you come to them and ask it, because they might give it to us. Because they're going to say, y'all don't study. You don't even know what you're asking for. You don't study nothing. We know y'all don't study. Y'all don't read nothing. We know that. Okay? So when we ask for things, whenever we ask for white people for anything, we better know what we're asking for. We better have taken the time out to think and find out what we're asking for, and so that they don't just hand us a pocket full of nothing but talk.
Absolutely. If folks have questions, things they would like to ask Miss Tate, feel free, chime in. The number to dial 760-569-7676. The code is 564-943 pound. Press *6 if you would like to participate. If you have a question you want to ask, that number again, 760-569-7676. The code is 564-943 pound. Press *6 if you would like to participate. One other commentary I wanted to get in. I do see a hand or two. This is a person actually wrote this in, and this comes up all the time in terms of suggestions on how to deal. I guess a lot of people have either siblings or sometimes parents, other people that are in their immediate quote unquote family who are in these tragic arrangements where they're sexually involved with a white person, and they try to get suggestions on the best way to function, to deal with these folks, what to say, what not to say, nieces, nephews, things of that nature, where they're talking about maybe marrying a white person. And a lot of times this ends up producing conflict, where the non-white people end up not even speaking anymore. The family members are just cut off contact. This one person wrote in. He said, while there in the Northwest, I visited my brother for a few days, and as I settled into my stay in that all-white enclave, I brought up counter-racist material with my brother. With great excitement, I explained how I found information dedicated to a strict, serious discussion of racism, white supremacy, and being no holds barred, with no shame, no fear in taking the issue head on. Well, sad to say, it is said that if you do not be careful, you may become the improduct of your environment. My brother's reaction was that I should not even think of things like that. He said that such things don't interest him. I was blown away by such a reply, seeing that he was the one who radicalized me when I was a youth. Then he told me he has found a good crop of white women in that small town and that they did not seem to be that prejudiced. Cowbell. That explained everything. Instantly, I understood his change of mind towards those white people. He was sleeping with their women. I remembered all that I had heard over the years, such actions confuse the victim. All I could say to him was that was not a very good idea to solution to this. That was not a very good idea to solve. That was not a very good solution to his failed marriage of 20 years. He tells me that no person was going to tell him who he can and cannot sleep with. After that statement, it became clear that he had been infected. My only advice to him was to not as much as blow in those women's direction the wrong way, or he will find himself in greater confinement. I ended my trip early and departed. We have not spoken since. This is just one of many anecdotes that I get from listeners. What sort of suggestions would you offer to non-white people who have family members who are in these sort of tragic arrangements or are considering these sort of arrangements? What sort of suggestions would you offer on the best way, the most constructive way to approach these?
Yeah, what I say is this, the same thing with me. When I started getting information, I became excited and wanted to share this information with other people. And it's called United Independent. Each person at their own time, based on their own experience, will then decide to get information, pick up a book. It's not necessary for us to recruit. Okay? Just get the understanding. People will watch you. Black people watch each other. We imitate. That's just how we are. That's one way that's why if I act different around a lot of black people, white people will say, hey, we got to get her out the way because they're going to copycat. We copycat off each other. Okay? So it's not necessary that once we start getting this information that we start recruiting people to get the information and everything. It don't happen like that. It happens when each and every individual person wants to have a little bit smack in the face, maybe, taste of this race thing, either directly. And normally you have to hit black people directly. Okay? So when we are up against something directly, and we can't get out of it, that's when we start trying to get information. It's unfortunate that it's that way, but that's normally, it's not necessary for us to recruit. We do want black people, to understand the system that we're under, and they can do that by solving the problems that they have. Because see, that's how they keep it going too. They give us a problem to solve. So we have to wait until that person maybe gets a problem that they have to solve, where they have to deal with white people directly. And and then that particular black person will find it on their own to get information. You see what I'm saying? But it's not really necessary for us to recruit, once we start getting information. Just keep going. Because you might eventually, the person that's getting the information may stumble up on something that they are supposed to do. You see what I'm saying? Because we're not all going to move at the same time, see? It don't work like that. Okay? It works step by step, individual by individual, you see. Okay? So it doesn't really work like that. I mean, when I started getting the information, that's what happened to me. I was trying to recruit and trying to get people to read, blah, 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 and it didn't work that way. Different people that I know was friends and all that. Then finally I said, no, let me just continue with my studies, and let's just see what happens with me, you see. But it's not necessary for us to recruit. That's not good. You know, you got to let black people come and run up into it, face it head on for themselves, you know. And then they'll say, oh, wow, okay, I'm ready now, you know.
I have heard that several times, unfortunately, that...
Yeah, because that's how we are, you know. You can't really recruit. You just have to wait, because they out there. Believe me, they're gonna experience racism directly, one way or another. But we all experience, we grow up with racism, so it's all in our families. It's just why we don't get along with each other, family members. It's all there. But we don't choose to see. We think white people don't have nothing to do with it. But, you know, because we don't understand and have a good understanding of things, you know. So
absolutely,
we just got to study and get an understanding. And believe me, we are going to be faced with that one way or the other. It may be on the job, but we are going to get hit by them. We are going to get hit. We see ourselves, these black males, wind up in jail indirectly. You see, down the line, indirectly, they was there. You know, the white people were there. The racist white people were there, socializing them, programming them to be a certain way, to act a certain way, you know, so that he could attract violence and all this other kind of stuff. He's programmed. If you're a black male and you're attracting violence, you are programmed. Okay?
Absolutely. Absolutely. That I recommend that all the time. The folks who, you know, they say that even if they say they have white friends, the sex thing, absolutely. But even white friends, I just tell them, you know, if racism is really as big of a problem as Ms. Tate says, Dr. Cambon, Mr. Fuller, Dr. Welsing, you know, if it's as big of a problem as we tend to think it is, that non-white person, whomever they are, it is going to smack them at some point, unfortunately. But if it's as big a problem as we all say it is, then eventually it's going to become an issue. And the best thing I've concluded that you can do is to try to keep the lines of communication open so that they can reach out to you if it does become a problem for them at some point and they decide that they want to get more information and maybe hear what you have to say. If you have some resources to offer, if you can keep lines of communication open, that can be a big help. Just having that lifeline, because I hear so many people who say they don't have anybody that they can talk to about racism and share ideas or information or just, you know, express what's happened to them if it's a job situation or whatever the case may be. Just having someone who understands that this is a problem, even if they heard it 5 years ago. You say that you think racism is a big problem, and then it clicks one day, oh man, it is. And I would like to talk about this. There you go.
Right. Exactly. Yeah.
Let's see. I see a few hands, folks who dialed in. We'll go down and nab some of the questions as well. The person who dialed in, last four digits, 5640. 5640. Did you have a question for Miss Tate?
Hi, yes. Can you hear me?
If you could speak up a bit, that would be helpful.
Oh, okay. Is that better?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Hi, Miss Tate.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
Oh, good. I understand your view about, letting adults I guess, kind of feel their way through the system, and before you actually approach them, talking to them about racism. But how should we approach children? And at what age would it be appropriate to sit them down and just to give them, an overview of, the racist white supremacist system and what they should expect?
You start teaching children, when your children start asking questions, do not stop them from asking questions. Let them continue to ask questions, and you answer the questions as they ask them. A lot of times what we would do is try to stop our kids from asking questions. They hear to learn, and that's why they ask questions. Somehow in grade school, Black people, we are maybe taught to stop asking questions. And that's, and I don't know where it started, but somewhere along the line, we stopped asking questions. But little bitty kids, they ask a lot of questions. So eventually, they're going to ask you questions about the society, about certain things. And that's when they get old enough, they'll start asking questions. And that's how you approach them. You wait for them to ask you questions and just don't stop them. When they little bit, because that's what they do, they grow up asking, they are little bitty people asking questions.
Right. Well, now, what if you have a child, even if the child is a preteen or whatever, what if that child is quiet, and what if they don't ask questions, but you as the parent or the guardian or whatever wants to at least, expose them to what the ills that are out there? So how do we approach that?
Well, really, they should have some kind of questions when they go on to school. They still usually before they go to school, they be be asking questions. Because I saw it in person, saw a little bitty girl just asking her mother a lot of questions to the point where it got on her mother's nerves. What I'm saying is that's when they are in the learning stage when they do ask questions. I kind of lost your question. You said something about, what did you say again?
No, I was saying, what if the child is quiet? And because I'll give you an example. When I was younger, when I was a child, I was very quiet. I definitely didn't ask questions about racism, but, and I know on the cows here, there's been much discussion about how, many of us didn't grow up in a household where our parents actually sat down and talked to us about racism. So when the parent really, wants to do that, should the parent just sit them down, even if the child is not asking questions, but this is just to help, to provide some, some kind of protection for them so that they know, they would know what to expect when they get out in the world?
Yeah, well, normally they're going to say something because if it's going to be about race, and of course, they are protected until they get to a certain age. And I don't necessarily know exactly what age, but we do kind of protect our kids until they get a certain age. Those questions about race is probably not going to come out until they really get old enough for schooling or whatever, and they kind of interact with white people. Those kind of questions will not come up. But in their interaction with white people, they're going to say, well, why was she mean toward me? Or something like that. Those kind of things they might say. Why was she mean to me? And then you can have, that's when the race stuff is time to start talking about racism. They will let you know, because they're going to have an encounter in this society. And then they're going to say, well, why was she mean, or why was this? And then that's when you start talking to them about that.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am.
Because I remember when I was growing up, my mother wouldn't talk, and that's because she really didn't, she knew that they was mean, but she really didn't have an understanding of what was going on with society. So you got to also have a good understanding of what's going on in this society so that you can explain it to them. Okay. Because I went through it, and my mother didn't say nothing, because she couldn't she really couldn't communicate it because she didn't have understanding.
Wow.
You know.
Wow.
Yeah, she couldn't really tell me what was going on. You know, so we got to, as adults, as the parents, we got to get an understanding ourselves so that we can be ready for them.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Person that dialed in last, or from a blocked number, did you have a question for Ms. Tate?
Yes. Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Gus and Justice, for the program today. This is our university to learn how racism and white supremacy operates. Thank you, Reneathia Tate, for being on the show today. I think that health should be included in the people activities in which white people practice racism, white supremacy against black people. And anyone who has listened to the show knows that people activities are economics, education, entertainment, and again, I think health should be included, labor law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Do you think that health should be included in the people activities that white people practice when they are practicing racism, white supremacy against black people, especially now with Ebola being so polarized in the media?
Yeah. You know, in the code book, diseases, drugs, all that is listed under war. And, you know, we could, you know, and that's, he dealt with, really fully dealt with war, different things about war. And I know the diseases and drugs is all under war. Okay? And the same thing if we look at AIDS. Okay? Now, some time ago when I was in college, we were talking about the transmittal of AIDS were coming at a point from white men having sex with other males. You see? And then that was spreading the germ. The germ, of course, was AIDS. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. And then that was killing off a lot of people. And then it got into Africa and killing off a lot of, people in Africa with AIDS. Okay, so we did a lot of studying around that too, in terms of how that disease came about, or germ, or whatever you want to call that.
Okay, I think.
Yeah. So.
Hello.
Yeah, you asked me about health being a part of an activity.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think it. I'm not sure where we can put it, but health is a very important part of our activities. Yes, it is, because it brings about illnesses and stuff like that too. The fact that we are not eating right, that's information. The fact that we're not eating right, all that's information that we do need.
Okay. Thank you. Hello?
Mm-hmm.
Hello?
Yes. Hello, I hear you.
Okay. I think that we, black people, engage in non-constructive activities in order to distract our minds from facing racism, white supremacy. What do you think about that?
Well, we do, yes, because we see the awesome. We don't know how to problem solve. So we'll run from it first, and we'll put it off. Usually, that's how we deal with problems. We put it off, we wait, we don't want to confront it right then and there and try to do, but we just don't solve problems like we should. We should say, if we solve every problem that we get, we are then dealing with racism. Life is nothing but a problem to solve. Yes, racism. So if we're solving our problems, we are directly dealing with racism because they give us these problems, either directly or indirectly. Okay, so we do get these problems. Racism is an automatic pilot now. Well, they don't have to really do too much like they did to get it set up. Everything is an automatic pilot. Okay? So we need to solve problems, yes.
Thank you for being on the show tonight. I'm signing off.
Okay, thank you.
Let's see. Caller at 1184. 1184. Did you have a question for Ms. Tate? Your line should be open.
Yes. Greetings, Justice and Gus. And glad to have you on the program, Ms. Tate.
Thank you.
What do you think of the idea, like, that a lot of the entertainment that we as black people get into is keeping us in a childlike state?
What keeps us in a childlike state? Well, you know, I'm still, even I got information.
Do you think that it contributes to it? A lot of the entertainment that we get into.
Oh, a lot of entertainment that we get into.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, with the way we entertain ourselves, you know, I think that's part of racism, too. You know, the way we're going to entertain, they already set the stage on that. You know, how we going to entertain ourselves. You know, happy birthday. You see that thing? They set the stage on how we going to have a birthday party. You see? We're 60 and 70 years old and we still having birthday parties. Okay? We already born, you see what I'm saying? So yes, I think that has a lot to do with it. Entertainment is under another area, under the activities that black people engage in, yeah.
Right, because I find like a lot of the entertainment, music, movies, things like that black people can tend to celebrate majorly basically goes over the same type of primitive childlike behavior that's already a problem. So it's,
that's right.
To me, it's reinforcing it, you know?
Yeah. If we, like I said, we think about this birthday thing, you see, that's reinforcing it, you know? Because, you know, they have us having these birthday parties from a little child, and we still 60 and 70 and 80 still having birthday parties. See, they keep us in that childlike state. They keep us from, you know, graduating, thinking something different. Come on. It ain't your birthday. You only born once. You know, you only born one time. You see? So, yeah. You know, so that is a good example of the activities that keep us functioning like children. And I have friends that deal heavily into birthdays. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, yes.
And one other comment I wanted to say was, in terms of children, many of the questions that they will ask you, because even when they're young, if you're a conscious person and you know something about the history of how the white supremacist system has been enforced, like you said about nursery rhymes and this and that, you know, all these Christmas-type movies that come on at that season every year, you know, fairy tale stuff and all that stuff like that. Me as a parent, if I was raising young kids again, you know, I would be right in that position, like saying, well, I don't really, you know, I'm not going to let you watch this or watch that. And then from that, they're going to ask you why. And then I think that starts the process right there when you already have some useful beliefs going on already before they get to school. When you're already confronting the system yourself, they're going to ask you, like, why you don't participate in certain things. You know, and then that, to me, it starts there, even sooner.
Yeah, that's correct. When they start asking questions. But like I said, we usually shut them up. And we're not supposed to do that. We're supposed to continue to let them ask questions because that's how they get information and grow and learn, by asking questions. But they make us feel bad if we ask questions. You must be stupid. See, and that's what, stops us from asking questions. And that is when you're stupid, is when you don't ask questions, you see. But they got us making us pick another word. Oh, you asking something, you must be stupid and dumb. See, that's what we do to each other. And then that makes us not say nothing. See, they got us thinking backwards. Okay? You ask questions to get information, better protect yourself and everything. We need information. We black females and males, we need to get information about each other. Just like I did. I sat on the phone and I got information about white men, asking them questions. And this is how the book came about. They wanted to get with me, but I said, no, I'm going to ask some questions. Okay? Before I just jump out there with a white man, because they came at me. You see what I'm saying? So I said, no, you're coming at me. I'm going to sit there and ask you questions. Okay? And then, of course, that's how the book started developing. Because I want, instead of just going to have a cup of coffee with them, like they said, all they got to do to get black females to go to bed with them is have to get them a cup of coffee. So instead of going to have a cup of coffee, we just talked over the telephone. Okay. And I got information. I started asking questions about this race thing. Because, see, I was already armed. I met Mr. Fuller, had read his book, and then I was ready armed, and I was in preparation of doing my book. So when I got with them on the telephone, I knew what to ask. See, I went to school knowing that there was a race problem, but I didn't know. I didn't really start asking questions until I got to college. And I was going around asking everybody why they hate us. What's wrong with them? You see? Why they act so hostile toward us. But look how old, I was old asking questions, you see? Because throughout school, I was made to feel dumb and stupid, so I didn't really start asking questions until I got to college.
Right.
You see? And then the whole thing, the information opened up to me when I asked them questions. Why? And then information came from out of everywhere. It's like I opened up the universe when I asked the question why. And then, of course, that's how I met Mr. Fuller. But I was already there asking questions. I was going nuts trying to figure out this mess that we was in, that I'm in. Okay? And that's how it happened. I just started asking questions, but look how old I was. I was already in college. And I didn't go as a young girl. I went as an older woman in college, as an older girl in college. I was maybe 27 when I started really asking questions and stuff, and then all this information came. Because it was getting on my nerves why they were so hostile and mean toward me. They're like, what did black people do? What did we do? You see? And of course, and everything else in history, of course, there was a book written, of course, from all that. But that's how I started. I was asking questions.
Yes, ma'am. Well, thank you for being on the program. And keep up the good work.
All right. Okay. And it was a pleasure talking to you, too.
Yes, ma'am.
Caller in Alabama, did you have a question for Ms. Tate? Your line should be open.
Yes, can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Oh, yes. I feel like, what do she feel about, she probably already spoke about this, but I don't remember. I know she was on in October, I think, last year, the year before last. But about the fact that interracial dating could make a person basically take up for white supremacy. Like, I have a relative who dates, white women or whatever like that. And, I was speaking about racism and white supremacy and speaking about how I don't agree with it and stuff like that. And they was like, they got very offended about me saying that I disagree with white supremacy. And, I asked them, I said, well, what is wrong with speaking about white supremacy, speaking to it as an evil? And they was like, well, there's other things in life going on and such and such and such and such. People don't want to hear that, And I wasn't even speaking to them. They basically brought it into something else when I was speaking to someone else. And so, what do you think? Like, I know a black person cannot be a racist, but is that in it? Like what type of, I don't know, I know they're victims of racism, but to me it's like, some of the responsibility, just because you're a victim, you're still responsible for your actions. And I don't think they should be, relieved of some of that responsibility, of not, because you don't have to speak up for racism. You don't have to speak against it. You don't have to say nothing about it. But when you go out of your way and verbally attack someone, harass someone and constantly because they want to speak out against it or they want to express their opinions on it, to me, you're not just a victim anymore. You know what I'm saying? Now, to me, you are actually taking part, participating with white supremacy, in my opinion. I'm sure my opinion is uncodified opinion, but that's my opinion. But I just like to mute my line and listen.
Yeah, I just wanted to get you. What was your question?
I said, what do you think about the fact that a person, some people, not all people, some people who have sex with white people, all of a sudden they would speak up for white people regardless of what happens. Even if it's not even against, even if you're speaking against white supremacy, they would actually become just as aggressive as the white supremacists will.
Yeah. Well, see, black people are programmed. For instance, black women, black females will take up for white men, particularly on that job. You see? Okay, so yeah, they train us to go against each other. They train us to protect them, and we clash with each other. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, we are trained. Do you think any responsibility, even though they're programmed, because we all are programmed under the system of white supremacy, but even though they're programmed, do you think that some of the responsibility is on them and not the programmer? Because we all programmed, but we don't let it affect us. Right, we saying, do I feel like some of the responsibility falls on us?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Or as the victim, because we are victims. Yes. Some responsibility, we are supposed to ask questions. Okay? We are supposed to ask some questions and get information. So it's up to us to ask questions. But we got to be able to think before we can ask those questions. Okay? So we have to slow down and let me do some thinking. And so I can ask some questions. Why is this? Okay? So yeah, black people it's going to be black people and white people been having sex for years and years, way back in slavery, and biracial people exist. But that doesn't mean nothing. Most of the time they're classified as black anyway. So, you may say, well, I got a white parent. Yes. Why do you think they have children with black people? To keep up a lot of mess. So that the person that got the white mother will be angry at the black people, at the other black family members. What's the movie? The movie is what? That old movie with the biracial girl who didn't like her black mother.
Imitation of Life?
Yeah, Imitation of Life. So that happens. That's why they have kids.
I have a family member, and I'm going to mute my line after this, I don't have nothing to say, but I have a family member that was like that. But my cousin went to the military and had sex with a German woman and had two children. And one of them, you know, they wasn't raised around none of their white family members because all their white family members was in Germany. But when they became an adult, they don't mess with none of the black family members no more. They, you know, got a job at a bank and they associate only with white people. You know, they don't.
That's right.
Family functions.
That's right. That's why they do that. Yes. That's why it's done, to keep up a lot of mess and dysfunction and a lot of hostility among black people when they have biracial people, biracial kids, with black people. It doesn't do nothing but just keep up a lot of chaos and confusion. Stop having sex with white people as long as racism exists. Okay? Because when they do things, they do it they count the numbers of non-white people that they're going to have. Okay, they do count the numbers. Okay. They do count the numbers on what they got, how many, so they won't have a whole lot of kids with us, but they're going to make sure there's enough biracial people walking around. And they all still they black. But if you talk about racism around them, they be saying, well, you know, my mother is black. That's not, my mother is white. You see? So that's why I say, you know, we just, you know, you will learn what to do and what not to do as you read and get a good understanding of white supremacy and how they operate. You know. See, sometimes you might not be able to speak out that way, okay? You may have to speak out like I do in a forum. You understand what I'm saying? Hello?
Oh, I can hear you. I think he did say he was going to.
Oh, yes, my mom understood.
Yeah, you may not be able to speak out, you know. You may have to, like I say, speak out in the forum. But just don't worry about them. Just get the knowledge and understanding for yourself. The more knowledge and understanding you get, the more comfortable you'll become with the knowledge and understanding. And then, of course, the Creator may have something special lined up for you. You don't know, what the Creator might have.
Yeah, I feel definitely. I agree with you, and I agree with you. I feel like I just need to, learn for myself, and if I want to express it in whatever way I will, express it, and then I have to understand. I think my skin needs to be a little more thicker and understand that comes with the territory, because that's not going to be popular. You see what I'm saying? So you're going to get verbally harassed by white supremacists and victims of racism. So, I probably have to learn more and, get a thicker skin, that's all.
That's right. Once you learn more and be comfortable with the subject, you know how to use it and know when to talk and when not to talk. You just have to, and like I said, you don't know what the Creator might have lined up. Just keep getting the information that you need for yourself. You keep solving your problems. You keep deprogramming yourself and changing your thoughts, your speech, and your actions. You keep doing that, and you don't know what might happen for you down the line, see. It might be something set up there, set for you. We all, but we all supposed to be trying to at least come here. We got here for a purpose, and we all, and I'm talking about white people too, we should want a better world than we need, because this is a mess. People need to be functioning on a lot higher levels. And if we killing each other, that's low level. That's a low level of existence. That's not a high level. If we at a point where we acting like savages and dogs and animals, and we can't and we have to just keep killing each other. Now, we should be higher than that, more humane toward each other, okay? But we are all functioning on this low, savage, and primitive level.
Right on. Thank you for the caller in Alabama. The person who dialed in, last four digits, 0068, 0068. Did you have a question for Miss Tate? Your line should be open.
Hey, how you guys doing today?
Hi.
Right, poorly.
I have a question. This question is going to start with a supposition. When I enter my work field, there'll be a lot of white people there. There were some of the white people with whom I believe most of the time are racist white supremacists, and there's also black individuals there. The white person would sometimes see that all black people are they have one thing in common, and that they're supposed to be pitiful, silly, stupid, and primitive. Now, the same white person may also look at one black person and see, okay, this black person operates like this. He's funny. He blows up my ego. This other black person acts like this. He's slow, kind of lazy. This black person, so therefore I'm gonna hurry up and try to get rid of him. And if he doesn't pick up the pace in the way that I want him to, then they'll have the other black person that they'll see that, okay, this black person is serious. So therefore, since this black person wants to be serious and pretend to be a man, I'm going to nitpick to make sure that he doesn't slip up at all. And if he does, I'm going to be on his behind about it. So with that perspective and that lens that they're looking at, white supremacists, when they see black people collectively, and the scenario I'm giving is like a workplace scenario, and they see the black people collectively, that same white person would go among the other white people and talk about how they see the differences in the black people, but still they all have one common denominator, and that is that they're primitive, silly, stupid. What is it about us as black people, as a black person that does not understand the system of racism, and they walk in to a work environment and it's full of white people? What is, from your opinion and your knowledge, what do you think that non-white person's perspective is when they see all the white people there, versus the perspective I just laid out about white supremacists in the workplace and their perspectives that they see?
How are you supposed to handle yourself? Are you concerned about the white people, the way they see you? Now, I can tell you this, if you're on the job and you're acting kind of different from the way the other black people act, you will be spotted. You will be noticed. They will take notice to that if you're acting a little different from the way the other black people act. They will take notice to that.
Yes, excuse me, but the question I was asking more was, what do you think, from your knowledge and experience, when a non-white individual enters a workplace and does not understand the system of racism and white supremacy, what do you think goes on in that person's mind when they see a room full of white people as their workers and team leads and managerial staff? Like, what do you think? How do you think they're processing it? So I could have a contrast analysis in my mind.
Okay. How do I think the black person is with the black person is thinking when they walk into a situation like that, what the black person is thinking about?
Yes. And the black person does not understand the system of racism and white supremacy at all.
Well, we're going to use words like they don't like us, or they prejudice, or they don't like me, or I'm prejudiced, or they prejudice. So we're not going to use words like racism because we don't understand how to use those words. Yeah, so when a black person is encountered with that stuff, it could come as a shock. Because it might be their first time really experiencing that, or their first time being around white people, okay? But usually, on the job situation, they let you know where they stand when you're young on the job. You usually have encountered a racist attack when you're on the job at a young age in your teenagers, as a teenager. Because I remember that. I remember that's what happened to me. They took me and told me I couldn't work, and they let the young white girls work, and told me that I couldn't work. You see, and then by the time all this was happening to me while I was a young teenager, then by the time I got to college, I was asking so many questions. You see. Why they treat me like that? Why they don't like us? You see what I'm saying? That's how I did it. It happened to me when I was young, though, a teenager, going to work, and that's when I really encountered this race thing. And that's probably, as an adult, is when you're going to encounter it, when you come in contact with white people, you see. We usually come in contact with them in school and then, of course, on the job. Okay. Yeah, so that's when we come in contact with them. But, yeah, if you don't have no information, you're going to be kind of shocked. And then you're just going to be wondering what's going on. What did I do? And why don't they like us? You see? And then you got then you got to be wherefore. You got ones that'll show you that they like you, but still, they use deceit. Okay, so you got to understand all of that. White people studied black people, and they took us over and made us slaves and took our minds and everything. Took our religion, put a white man, made him Jesus. They did all this stuff because they studied black people. Okay? So we're saying what we're trying to do now. We're trying to get black people to do the same thing. Let's study them. Okay? Let's study them the way they studied us.
Why do you think that? Why do you think that non-white people have a problem studying white people, all the white people in the workplace environment? Why do you think black people have a hard time?
Black people they taught us to be afraid. Black people are afraid. Black people don't want to have no confrontations. They want to be left alone so they can do their job and go home. We are afraid. And they taught us to be afraid of them. Okay? But they are just people. And they can be studied the way they studied us. They got flaws too now. But see, they teach us that they're God, you see. They teach us to protect them. Okay? So black people will fight you and go against you for a white person. So they got us all twisted and screwed up. But yeah, the black people were trained to be afraid of white people, particularly white men. They trained us to be afraid of them.
Okay, now that really answers my question. Okay, thank you very much, because that's what I wanted to understand that, because the white male, who I suspect is a racist or white supremacist, he would study. I could see that he's studying. They pretend like they're not paying attention, but they're paying attention to every single one of your moves that you make. And then they have basically a profile, a mental profile about each individual black person. And then they go talk to their white friends about each individual profile of the black people that they made a profile of in their head. But the black people, when they're in the same environment as the white people, the black people do not. And I was trying to figure out, why do they not want to study each white person and see how they operate and how they function emotionally and logically? And I noticed that, I couldn't understand why don't the other black people, think about doing that. And I guess, there's a governor on the average black male for their mind to actually question or try to study what is supposed to be God to them, because we're trained that white men and women are gods, So thank you very much.
Yeah, they are gods. They are the people in charge, and they want us to be, boys and girls, because boys and girls are normally scary of the men and women. See, we boys and girls. See, and they men and women. So, we are normally, they taught us to be afraid of them. But they're just people, see. But they come across as trying to be more than people. Came across as trying to be higher than people like God, because they got our survival in their hands. So a lot of black people will be scared about that. Because that can make you lose your job, your income. And that scares you. That keeps you on the job scared. Because you might lose your job, you're going to lose your income. Because they got control of it. Okay? See, this is why sometimes you're not supposed to. We go on the jobs, you got to realize where you are. You are not supposed to be talking about racism on the job. Because you got to be on that job and you got to work that job. You are not supposed to be talking about religion on the job. You see, you leave all those topics at home. You deal with racism,
And Reneathia, the latter point of what you said about us being afraid makes absolutely a lot of sense, because when you study how people function logically and emotionally, when you study their behavior, you don't have to even speak. You could just quietly observe and still function efficiently doing your job. But we are so afraid most of the time to even do that, and so thank you very much for actually making, because I was trying to figure out why can't we mentally not at least break that barrier, just to, you still do your work, but like a CIA agent, and you study what is going on around you, how the people are functioning. Emotionally, study their emotional patterns, study their logical patterns. See, and you'll notice how arrogant even the white person who makes $40,000 a year in this area of the world, how arrogant they really are. And our minds won't even break that barrier, and you gave me the answer why. So thank you very much. I appreciate that.
All right. Okay, and basically, they run the job just like the plantation. If you study the slavery era, and you find the plantation, and they had the master and the overseer. The overseer is usually the black male or female supervisor. That's the overseer of the plantation. And she or he cracks that whip on the black people, and, we'll get rid of you because she got to do her job. See, and that's studying slavery. If you study the slavery system, the way they did things is the way they do it now on the job, you see. And they use the black person as the overseer. It usually be a black female be the overseer. Cracking the whip on the rest of us, you see. And we have to do what we said. We're told we need to we have to have the money so that we can make a living. You see what I'm saying? So you don't want to talk about race on the job. You want to leave that at home, even though it's going to happen to you. But you don't really want to talk about that with people. It's not a place where you socialize. The work site. It's not a place where you socialize and try to make friends. It's a real hostile environment.
Right on. Boy, Nab, our next caller, I just think really the last two callers, I think that dialed in both the observation of non-white people defending white people. I think it was stated particularly non-white people who are engaged in some sort of sexual activity with a white person, and non-white people not studying white people on the job. That is a part of our victimization, both of those behaviors. And I say pretty regularly, I think it's important to understand what the system of white supremacy is designed to produce. And we're not talking about a system that just got here yesterday. We're talking about a system that has been running for centuries and being refined, where white people improve upon the system. I think Ms. Tate had said earlier that it's kind of even on autopilot to a certain degree, where white people, they don't have to be directly around you doing a whole lot, where they've been just got it going for a while now, where we have been programmed and victimized and terrorized, which I think is huge, that word terrorism. I think Dr. Wells, we had on the program, and just asking non-white people and being honest, are you afraid of white people? And being truthful about that. I think that fear of white people, I think that goes to a large part of those behaviors that people are talking about, whether it's defending white people, even when white people are not present. We're talking about not studying white people on the job, or being totally adverse to talking about racism, even when white people are not present. That's what happens to people who've been terrorized. I think it's very important to just kind of keep that in mind, that this is a part of what white supremacy is purposely designed to produce, and not being surprised about that, kind of expecting this is what white people want from us. If it would be odd if you were not seeing these behaviors. This is what white people have put all their time and effort to produce, to have us functioning in this manner. And if you get that information where, hey, maybe we can start changing some of these behaviors, that's pretty rare, that most non-white people just haven't got that sort of information, haven't had the time. And even white people, they put a lot of time and energy. I think we talked about that when Ms. Tate was with us previously, how they even put a lot of time and energy to make sure that we don't have time to sit and think about the problems that we are experiencing, so we can come up with strategies to try to deal with that all of this is by design. All of the behaviors in which you're seeing, it's by design. That's what you should expect to see from victims. The person who dialed in, let's see. They dropped out. The other folks that dialed in, I don't know if something happened, interference perhaps, but other people that had hands up for questions, if you dial back in, if you had something that you wanted to ask, we'll be sure to get your question on as well. It looks like people got knocked off. It was more than one person got knocked off before I could get their hand. The number again, if you need it, is 760-569-7676, and the code is 564943 pound. Press *6 if you have a question. Seems like there is some interference. Someone just messaged in that they were trying to get a question on, but I don't know if it's the phone or internet is not behaving properly. I'll see if they can write it in. Maybe I can read their question. One person did tweet in their question. They said, do you have any advice on managing unwanted attention from white males on the job? And they added, right, she said, she added in, I ignore them but lost promotion opportunities.
So now they're saying she ignored them and she lost a promotion opportunity.
Right.
Isn't that interesting? So they're going to put money, knowing that you need it. I would ask the person, do I need to be there? Do I have to take, what type of attention? We need to first find that out. What type of attention did she ignore? Or, what is it? Because we're supposed to be on a job. This is supposed to be all professional, you see. So I need to know what kind of attention or whatever that she was supposed to. This is supposed to be a professional atmosphere, and you're not supposed to be in any kind of way nothing near sexual harassment. Because that's not tolerated in the workplace. Okay? So I do have to have a little bit more information to find out exactly what kind of attention that she didn't something that she didn't do to white men and got it where she couldn't get a promotion. I need more details on that, because we have to look at, is it constructive? Is there any kind of violations there? You know, is it professional? Okay. You know, we need to look at all those type of things to see if it's professional, you know, before I can really say, you know, what can we do about it. But, you know, we don't want there to be no type of sexual harassment on the job, you know. So that's a suit right there, you see.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we don't want none of that, because that's a suit. Certain things you're supposed to conduct yourself, certain ways you're supposed to conduct yourself on a job, and it ain't supposed to have nothing to do with no sexual harassment, no kind of sex, or, you know, but then, you know, like females, you know, you can ask white men to help you. We ain't got to go to bed with them, because they're supposed to take care of us all anyway. We the victims. If they supply us with a job, we can ask them for help. But we ain't supposed to go to bed to get that help. But you can't ask. If they say no, they say no. You can compensate. But we ain't supposed to be going to bed for no job, promotion, none of that. We ain't supposed to do that. For no money. Because remember, money runs out. We want justice. We want something that has no material value. And white people are supposed to take care of black people. That's why they got jobs that they provide. They do provide us with a way to get a job so that we can take care of ourselves. But we don't have to go through no extra nothing, especially giving up our bodies for money, for promotion, none of that.
The person that wrote that in, if you're listening, if you have additional details on what sort of quote-unquote attention, unwanted attention, that you were getting from these white males, that would be appreciated. She did add that the white females tolerate the non-professional, she has that in quotes, non-professional attention just fine, but I do not. But she doesn't give details exactly about what this non-professional unwanted attention is. So if you could give some details on that, we'll try and get clarification from Ms. Tate. But just what do you mean specifically when you say unwanted attention or non-professional attention? That would be helpful. While I wait to see if she gives that information, the person that dialed in from a blocked number, did you have a question for Ms. Tate? Your line should be open.
Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Hi. I have 2 points, just to sort of addressing a couple questions for Ms. Tate. I really enjoy hearing your views on sex with white people and all the negativities that can come along with that. I guess the first question that I have is, I believe that we live in a system of racism and white supremacy. I do believe that the white chip in our brain computers is deeply implanted on levels that even the most conscious among us can spend the rest of our lives trying to navigate and recognize the extent to which we have been impacted by white supremacy. Just to go back, my question doesn't have to do with the workplace necessarily, but sort of a more general look at what is the line between, like, so if this is a system of racial white supremacy, and it is, and we are victimized, and that is deep. like I said, in ways that we can't necessarily consciously access and can spend a whole lifetime trying to navigate and discover. If that is the case, then what does a demarcation line look like between our victimization and this notion of personal accountability? Because if we are as impacted as we are, and if the system is as powerful as it is, and that is why it is supreme, then how do we differentiate between our severe victimization and this notion of personal accountability? What does that look like for a victim? Because I know there are certain kinds of victims, right? There are victims among us who are conscious, and there are victims among us who will, defend a white person to the death, or whether they're sleeping with them or not, especially if they are sleeping with them. So, in the case of a non-white person who is having sex with a white person, and for whatever reasons chooses to defend the white person, which indirectly is a way of defending white supremacy, whether they know that consciously and or not. What I'm saying is that how do we, as people who are conscious, expect people who appear to be on the spectrum more victimized than we are, how do we bring in the notion of personal accountability, personal responsibility for people who have been kept, as you said earlier, primitive? If you have this primitive mind state, how do we talk about this very sophisticated notion of personal accountability in that in the context of racist victimization? Am I being clear or not?
A little bit. I think I can follow. You're talking about personal accountability. You're talking about a black person who don't have enough information, or it may be ignorant and don't have enough information. Normally, you would have to wait. Black people, like I said earlier, information, the knowledge, we have to get stung by a bee, and then we start asking questions. We have to wait until they get smacked in the face. When usually the white supremacists will do that at some point down the line. The white people will make a move toward that black person. Then and sometimes it will and sometimes it don't, shake the black person up, where they will start trying to get information. So you have to wait until black people are directly hit, okay, by the racist or some kind of the racist man or woman. You have to wait until they are hit, so their own level of consciousness will come about, okay? And that's how they then, take on the personal responsibility or whatever of asking. So, yeah, it's black people who are not conscious, who are still asleep. Yes, it is. Okay, but we can't really wake them up. Okay? That will come in time throughout their lifetime with white people. Okay? The focus should not be...
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was saying that the focus is not black, but we keep looking at each other. We ain't going to solve nothing, looking at each other. Okay? The only way we going to solve it is when you take on white supremacy, you got to remember, you are by yourself. Don't look for me. Don't look for your neighbor. Okay? Look at yourself. Solve the problems you have, because you are by yourself when you attempt to counter this thing called racism, white supremacy. You're by yourself. It's united, independent. Okay, so each black person, when it's time for them to get smacked, and they will, they come into the knowledge, and then they're coming to their own accountability, But yeah, until then, some of us are still asleep, walking around ignorant, not asking questions and nothing like that. But see, I'm not going to focus on them. I'm going to tell them what we need to do, but I'm going to try to keep my focus on white people and keep watching what they do. Okay.
I totally understand where you're coming from, and just to, with as much courtesy and respect as I can muster right now, just to give you a little pushback, and you don't necessarily have to respond because I want to go into the other point because I know we have other callers. And I'm talking about, and I agree with what you're saying, but from personal experience and as a writer myself who writes about this issue very extensively, and I use my own sort of victimized path, my victimized narrative with which to sort of speak to other victims about sex with white people, I think that sometimes, it will take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times getting smacked in the face by white supremacy, because I believe that the white chip is deeply implanted within us, deeply implanted within our psyche, that even when, let's say, a black male has a tragic arrangement with a white female and it goes awful, that because we live in this system that preaches that, every white person is a different white person, and that chip, that part of the chip is accessed by our victimized minds, what we will do, a lot of us, and I've seen this, that even when the one arrangement with the white female goes wrong and racism is involved in that, we are so resilient in our victimization, and I don't mean willfully, I mean because we are being controlled, we are so resilient in our victimization that it can take 4, 5, 6, 7 times before some consciousness, some knowledge, some desire to ask questions and figure out what is going on, what is happening to us, will come into the brain computer to the point where that will dictate how the person then functions after that, before they can decide to seek some knowledge, if they do seek it at all. And one of the sort of rhetorical questions I would ask about that is, what do we do with these non-white people who are resilient in their victimization, not willfully, but because of their being controlled? What do we do with these people as we move along, who are saying, no matter, even though I was with Jill and I was with Amy and I was with Lisa, and these all went bad, and it all had to do with racism, but the next girl, Kimberly out there, she might be the right white one. So that's a rhetorical question. But
yeah, she might be different, right. Yeah, we can understand that. Yeah, we can understand that white people, the way they operate, they do have unity. They have something that we don't have, and that's unity. Okay? So it doesn't matter. They may be nice, and this one may be different than that one. But the one thing that they all agree on is they agree on that they should be in charge, and they will conduct themselves accordingly. They do agree on that they will be in charge. So, yes, white people don't get along with each other. They fight just like we do, but they do agree. They come together on one agreement, and that is that they want to be, that they still should stay in charge, that they should keep white supremacy going. And that's what they are. White supremacy is their religion. Okay? Black religion is very important to us.
Correct.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's how they do it. They just,
I'm sorry. Yeah, I was just saying, I don't mean to interrupt, but at the end of the day, you're absolutely correct. They are white, and they are part of the white team, so they're going to get their stuff together real quick when it comes to us.
See, and that's what they do. They put us in a race with them, and they keep us at the bottom of the race, and making sure that we don't catch up to them, making sure we stay like children while they are adults, you see, making sure that we don't have no money. It's all set up, okay? This is set up. So if it's a setup that we don't have no money or have enough money, if we understand that, then maybe we'll come up with other ways to do what we have to do instead of giving up our bodies, for that promotion. You see what I'm saying? We got to understand what the game is on the table, on the chessboard, and who we are on this chessboard. You see, because we're on the chessboard. Okay? And we got to understand who we are. So that they using money and they know we need it, okay, then I'm going to think about it. I'm going to say maybe there's another way for me to come around and get that money. You see what I'm saying? That I need.
I do. I don't mean to interrupt you. I'm sorry. I do apologize. I don't mean to interrupt you. I just want to get a last point in. Let's just say you have a person who is sort of conscious, right, and understands white people's fear of genetic annihilation. And let's say this person who then chooses to say, because I understand the system, I'm going to do so consciously now and have sex with a white female for whatever reasons, not because I am, convinced of her white beauty, but because I somehow want to, I want to handle that whiteness. I want to handle, to try to be in control. Do you think in general, even for a conscious person, if they are having sex with a white person, do you think that there is some kind of spiritual disadvantage, some kind of spiritual disadvantage with even doing that, even if you are conscious? Let's say that you are playing chess with the white female and you know how to dodge the pitfalls, and you still participate in that behavior. Do you think on the level of spirituality that there is still going to be a negative outcome? Let's just eliminate the fact that you might go to jail and there might be some other kind of, legalities or other kind of insanity involved with it. Let's just say eliminate those. Do you believe that there is still some kind of spiritual price that you will pay in a negative way?
Well, I'll tell you what white people said. If you want to look at spiritual, white people have said, because I studied white people, they said that they the devil. Okay? So we go from there. That's what they said. And it's in my book, Pieces of a Puzzle. They said that they are the devil, but you have to study white people and listen to what they say. And then like I did. So they said, if you want to talk about spiritual, they said they the devil. And they prove it to me all the time because they keep up a lot of violence, a lot of chaos and confusion. Now, they the ones who said it. I didn't say it. They said it. Okay? That they are the devil. Okay? And they give us justice. We want justice in white supremacy and replace it with justice. Okay? Let us mentally grow up. Okay?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Do the right thing. Stop the violence. Stop all this promoting of violence and killing people. Why are we acting so savage? Stop the savageness so that we can come out of the state of primitive. See, they can't come out their state, we can't come out of our state. See, if they came out of being savage, then we could come out of being primitive. Okay? So that's what we pushing, saying that we need justice. See, and then that means to come out of this savageness. And black people come out of this primitive state. Okay. See, we act like animals. We kill each other. And this is terrible. But that's because white people are in charge. And they are violent people who love death. The Indians said white people, when the white man came, he taught them about 6 or 7 or 8 or more different ways on how to get rid of, kill somebody. I think that was in the movie Geronimo. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, so we need to just slow it down. Because they're not forcing us in the bed with them. They might manipulate or whatever. They're not forcing us in the bed with them. There's something that we can at least get our hands on this. Control this thing. Y'all produce justice. Produce justice. You producing, you going to bed with them, you having a non-white kid. What's that non-white kid's purpose? Cause confusion. Now the non-white person don't know that. The biracial child don't know that, but that's what happens. That's what she's taught, you see. People, don't like this one, like this one. It's just a lot of mess. So why go to bed with them? You ain't doing nothing but you producing confusion, a confused person. That's not right. We want to end white supremacy. Black people, they have fun with us. We can cut this fun out. We can cut that entertainment out because they expect us to entertain them in that bedroom too. So we can cut that entertainment out because they have fun with us. We do all these kinky things. Stop this sex. Let's stop this. Let's get a hand on this. Okay? And then I don't expect, it's not going to be all black people not going to do it at one time. You see, I already know that. But if enough of us do it, we can have some kind of impact. Enough of us can do it. They know that we've been somehow mistreated, abused, traumatized. Gus T used the word terrorized. Yes, terrorized and traumatized. They traumatize us too. See? They're violent. Okay? They are violent. Yes, they are. But they still people. They still people. They are not the creator. Okay? It was not their idea to give us females. Okay? And then, hey, black people came first. Even though it really don't mean much, but it means something. Who was created here? I'm just talking about the perspective, making them think like, they think they are gods and all this kind of stuff, because they do have control over us and they have control over our survival. They do have that, So, but they still are people. And they got flaws just like us. Okay.
Context of white supremacy. Before I nab our next caller, I think that concept VGQ, Victims Guaranteed Qualified, Mr. Fuller has used that pretty regularly to say that non-white people, any non-white person, that they are qualified as a result of being a victim to respond any way they want. I don't use that term, personal accountability or personal responsibility. That's not a term that I use. I've just noted that it pops up regularly, and I'm not saying the caller meant it in that way, but I just pay attention when I do hear that term. Generally, when victims are talking about getting at another victim, and I just haven't seen where that goes anywhere constructive. Generally, when I ask folks what should be done when we are, quote unquote, holding another victim accountable, whatever that means. And I just have not heard responses that are constructive, that to me sound like a constructive investment of time and energy, whether it's we're going to talk bad about them or we're not going to defend them or wherever it goes. I just haven't heard where it's generally anything constructive. Generally, my thought is most of the time you don't have to be around these folks. I would say we could probably just go with minimizing contact where we are not spending a whole lot of time with them and whatever. That's the choice that they've made. They're qualified to do so. They're a victim and moving forward. And I would not be very surprised because white people have been very successful with their system of global terrorism, non-white people making those types of decisions. If anything, that would just serve as a reminder to me of how well of a job that racist man, racist woman, racist child have done, and the enormity of the problem that we are facing as non-white people. But I just have concluded quite some time ago, and I'm pretty firm on my conclusion that I just don't see any constructive value to, quote unquote, holding other non-white people accountable. If anything, I would recommend each of us spend more time holding ourselves accountable and making sure that we individually are doing what we are supposed to be doing as opposed to focused on other victims. But I could be in error myself. The person, Shani, if you had a question for Miss Tate, your line should be open.
Hi, Miss Tate. How are you?
Okay.
I guess I have a question for you. I wanted to get your advice on, basically for myself. My mom is white and my father is black. And just
wait, hold it. You said your mother is gay.
No. My mom
and
is
your
white.
father is, okay, your mom is white.
Yeah. And my dad's black.
And your father is black. Okay.
Yeah, right there. Yeah, I've kind of been having problems with them lately. Just recently my mom kind of locked me in the basement 3 days in a row. I guess because I come down here and I listen to Gus's show, so I guess maybe she knows I'm listening to the show. So she'll lock me in the basement. My sister has to come open the door, so, yeah. But I want to know, do you have any advice for someone like myself who is living with parents who decided, I guess, to be in an interracial marriage?
Mm-hmm. Well, you just get information, your mom is your mom, and you're gonna love your mom no matter what, and that's just how it is, But you can always get information for yourself. Any kind of questions that you might have, if you got any kind of questions, you can start researching and get information, and you'll be able to, your mind will change on a lot of things. You've got to grow your mind, and you just get the information to grow your mind.
Okay. Yeah, I'm actually trying to, I talked to my dad about it. He's kind of half and half, so sometimes he'll go one way where it's like, those racist white people or whatever, and then the other way he'll be like, pretty much, not.
Yeah, well, we are victims. Yeah, we are all victims, basically. Your father, you are, so yeah. We are doing the best we can at this point in time, but you need information so that you can get a better understanding. We are not saying that you shouldn't love your mother or your father because they did. They bring you here. They did bring you here. We want justice. We want white people, and those white people that practice racism. We want justice. We don't want to be looked at, judged based on color. We want this color stuff to be over with. And we want to live like we all want to live as one. We don't want all this color stuff to be so important, and we don't want to be getting hurt based on color. This is a mess. We want a better society to live in. We all deserve that. We all want a better society to live in. And we don't want all this race stuff. We don't want to be put in a race. Okay? We want peace. We want some happiness. We want a little peace. We don't want to be judged based on this. We don't want to be hurt based on color. You see what I'm saying? We don't want that. We want them to produce justice. We want white people to produce justice. We want black people to be able, we want white people to be able to come out of their savage state. White people are savages. Okay, and black people are primitive.
Okay. And I just also wanted to let you know that I pretty much, as is.
Oh, wait a minute, Shani. Miss Tate got disconnected. Give me 1 second. We'll see if we can add her back on the line. Don't forget your question. Forgive the ring. Should be adding her back right now.
You have reached the voicemail box of 3.
We'll give her a second. See if we can get her line back. We should be back on Wednesday at minimum. Professor Charles Cobb, his book, That Nonviolent Stuff Will Get You Killed. Nice companion program for folks who heard when we had Dr. Umoja on the program about maybe 3 weeks ago. His book, We Will Shoot Back, he was focused specifically on Mississippi and how black people in the state of Mississippi since forever had been using counter-violence, including killing white people in response to the practice of white terrorism, racism. And actually, Professor C.O.W.S is mentioned in that book. I suspect that they know each other, Dr. Emoja and Professor C.O.W.S. But he is a black male. He will be here on Wednesday to discuss his book. It just came out this summer. If you've been listening to the program long enough, you should have heard there was a report on Tell Me More that white people axed from NPR. But Michelle Martin, black female, she had Professor C.O.W.S on to talk about that book. And he was using the word terrorism specifically. As I said, terrorism. He uses it over and over in the book to condition fear, and how that was done purposely to get some of the exact results that we have been talking about on the broadcast today in terms of the behaviors that we observe amongst non-white people and the confusion and just how we respond to centuries of white terrorism. But fascinating book. Another one, you can add that to your column as well. Anytime you hear people say that black people are retarded and stupid and cowards and spineless and won't fight back and we deserve what we get, anytime you hear that rant, again, I said you should tell that person immediately, you should have a seat. At minimum, you are sharing a great deal of ignorance about the history of racism, white supremacy, and how black people have responded. We can get you some books, some videos, where you will see that black people have done all kinds of things, as I said, including white people, in response to racism. Another book that you can add to that, We Will Shoot Back, and the book for Wednesday, That Nonviolent Stuff Will Get You Killed. Wednesday, normal broadcast time. We will try Miss Tate again. Forgive the ring.
You have reached the voicemail box of 3.
We'll try again. Give it another second. Thanks all for the patience. I don't know if she's having battery issues or interference or whatever. I think there was some interference because I know before, I think Shani was saying she was having some issues as well with the phone. And I know there were several other people that seemed they all got dropped at the same time where they had hands up. So I don't know if white people on the job or it's just technological failure, but hopefully folks are being patient and maybe getting some constructive information for their Sunday while we have a quick moment. As I wait, I'll give her a few more minutes to see if there's a phone issue on her end. That personal accountability thing, that's not even a term that I use. I hear that, and it's interesting because I hear that from victims, and I also hear that from white people. Like the response to racism, they will say that there needs to be personal accountability. Don't be blaming racism for all your problems. Like I hear that from white people all the time. That's even seems like one of Bill O'Reilly's mantras when he gets on and saying, I don't want to hear all this talking about racism and slavery. I didn't own any slaves and where is personal responsibility? Like they get on that all the time. And I'm certainly not saying, hey, you definitely, we have, I'm not saying black people are totally powerless. We certainly can, and hopefully we'll make better decisions as we get more information about racism, white supremacy, as we become more informed. Hopefully we will do better. We will have to change our behavior, but I have not ever seen where it goes anywhere constructive, saying that, yeah, I'm going to go get at these other victims and hold them accountable for what they're doing or not doing if they are less confused about racism, white supremacy, or I think they have a certain amount of information. I just haven't seen where it goes anywhere constructive. I know, at least for myself, I have enough time, enough difficulty holding Gus accountable for what Gus should be doing, since I say that I am a little bit less confused. That right there is a full-time job, and I don't have time to go out and babysit other non-white people or get on them or grab them by the collar and shake them 2 or 3 times or whatever. And like, as I said, that tends to vary as well in terms of what people mean when they say holding folks accountable. That kind of shifts from person to person in terms of what that all entails. But I'm just not an advocate of that. We are all victims. We all have BGQ, as Mr. Fuller says, victims guaranteed qualified. Even though that does not extend to killing other non-white people. Make sure I'm very clear about that. You do not get BGQ to kill another non-white person. I'm very sure Mr. Fuller would co-sign that 3-4 times a day, maybe 10 times on a Sunday. You do not get BGQ to kill another non-white person unless it is in direct self-defense where you're being attacked, something of that sort. But at any rate, we will check again, see if we have Miss Tate back on the line. I did see there were other callers. Hopefully it's not anything too difficult. We can get her back to get the other folks' questions. Let's see here. All right, we'll try again. Forgive the ring. See,
sorry about that. I think my battery has went low, okay?
Oh, no, not a problem. I thought that might have been...
So I'm on the charger now. So I'm on the charger.
Outstanding. Not a problem. I thought that might have been the case. We just took a little breather time out.
Yeah.
And, gave folks a chance to recharge. Looks like Shani might have left us for a second. She was the person that was asking a question. I know she did have another follow-up. If you want to ring us back, we can get the rest of your question for Shani. Okay, it looks like she press *6, put your hand up again. That'll make it, or never mind. Okay. Shani, if you want to finish with your question, your line should be open. Please proceed.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, hi. Oh, hi.
Hi.
I just wanted to just say one thing. Just this past when I was in college, I actually woke up when I was in college about, white supremacy and racism, having to deal with sexual encounters with white males. So after having those experiences, that actually woke me up to basically white supremacy and paying attention to it more. So I have not engaged any contact with any white male since, I guess, 3 years ago. So I continue to not pretty much talk to anybody. Even at my job, it's hard, but I'm trying. I mean, I talk to them, but not in a manner where it's like they're, trying to know more information about me. I don't let it get to that point.
Okay. Do you have a question?
Do I have a question?
Yeah, do you have a question?
I don't know. I just wanted to just make that statement that I've woken up to it. Before, obviously, I was doing that because no one told me that, I had to worry about this. It was pretty much like kumbaya. Like, I didn't have to worry about it. My parents never talked to me about it. But once I went to college and I lived with a roommate who dealt with it, and then I had one who was actually a suspected racist, I saw how she reacted towards her. I saw how I reacted towards the suspected racist, how she reacted towards us, and it caused I almost actually got kicked out of my college because of the suspected racist. I'm not going to go into it, but she even got a black male kicked off campus for something very, not even that serious. So just seeing this and, it was definitely a...
Well, can I ask you a question then?
Mm-hmm.
I think you said you had sex with white men and you stopped. Was that correct?
What did you say?
Did you say that you had sex with white men, but you have since then stopped doing that?
Yeah, I used to, but then I stopped.
Okay. Why did you stop?
Because I've had some interesting experiences with them compared to with a non-white male, which I was trying to figure out why are they acting this way during sex with me, but I don't have it this way with another person. So I just thought it was weird in itself. But I always question, I always have that problem with trying to be accepted by a white male. I always wanted to, seek approval from a white male and date white male because, as a black female, I felt like I had that privilege, I guess, because my mom's white. I don't know. But it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to be, obviously. It just ended up them using me. So that's what I've come to realize. So most white males that even try talking, I don't even waste my time because it's just going to be the same thing. And it's not even...
What age are you?
Hmm?
What age are you?
What race am I?
I said age.
Oh, age? Oh, my God. 24.
Oh, okay. All right. So you're very young. You're still young, very young. Yeah, that was about the time. But you said that you're not interested in them sexually anymore.
No.
Is there any? Was the experience kind of? You didn't like the experience?
No, it's pretty scary, actually. I'll admit one scenario, one white male pretended he was a rapist. Role playing. And I didn't just came out.
Okay, I didn't understand. You said what now?
I had a white male who was portraying himself as a rapist during role playing, but it kind of just came out of nowhere. It wasn't like we were in the act of actual sex. He kind of just, attacked me pretty much. And then he just thought it was funny. I was like, that wasn't funny.
Okay.
Yeah, so that scared me a little bit, and it's just really weird. So I get a really weird vibe from them, and I don't know if it's because I've woken up to it, or previous treatment from white males. Probably previous treatment. I had a white male in high school who wouldn't even hold my hand at a football game, but yet he says he likes black girls, but you can't hold my hand in front of other people. I didn't understand that, And then when I told my parents, they're like, "Oh, well." My mom was like, maybe he's shy or something. I'm like, no. And my dad.
Do you have a copy of the book? Do you have a copy of my book?
No, I'm actually going to be buying it. Most likely sometime this weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, because see, there's other black female stories inside that book that might be similar to your story, and it may be. I'm not saying that we want a situation where you do not go back until we can get something called justice. So we want a situation like that you don't go back because you're very young, and black females will do that. They will stop having sex with white men, then they'll go back. So we want a situation, so before you decide to go back, get more information. Here's in Pieces of a Puzzle, my book, is a collection of 15 black females who had sexual experiences and different encounters with white men, and some of them didn't even have sex. But what happens is, I'd rather for you to read to come draw your own conclusion, but usually they can leave us scarred. Some kind of way they leave us scarred. And it might be that the book will maybe could be you may go through a healing process. But the book is therapeutic too. Okay?
Can I just say one more thing? I'm not going to be, it'll be pretty short. I have dated white males before I've woken up, but what I did notice is that I've always been interested about racism for a long time. So I'm a political science major, so I talk about racism, politics. So there's some white males that I've talked to about racism, and they'll look at me like, kind of like, why is she bringing this topic up? And that's when I know something wasn't right, because the way their reactions were, their responses were to some of my questions that I asked, and something as simple as, what do you think about the Trayvon Martin case? Something simple as that, and they'll look at me like, like one guy recently, I asked him, what do you think about the Mike Brown situation? And he's like, oh, that's a serious topic, right? Like it's like he's acting like he's not aware. And I'm like, yeah, you don't watch the news? And he's like, oh, yeah.
Well, was he black?
No, he was white.
Oh, okay. Well, you know, of course, white people don't want us to deal with racism. Now, you can understand that. White people do not want black people to deal with racism because that's too close to their comfort zone, see? So, no, they don't care if we don't talk about it. They prefer that we do not talk about it. And they will go to all kind of extents to make us believe that racism don't exist. You see? So they don't want us to deal with that problem because they would know that they're going to have to produce justice. And they don't want to do that. They want to keep this mess going. Okay? They want to keep this mess going. So, no, they don't want us to study nothing about racism. Oh, no. Okay? They want to keep this mess going and keep themselves in charge. And the only way they stay in charge is to keep a lot of mess, chaos, and confusion to happen among black people. Okay? This is why we tell black people, sometimes we got to stay away. We got to minimize our contact with each other. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah, but you get a chance to see what's going on, so you get a good overview. The book will give you a good overview of at least 15 different black females that white men were with, that I interviewed. And you'll get an overview. And you say, well, this is what they think about us and how they think about us. Okay?
Okay.
All right. And we are not white. We cannot often produce a white baby. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I'll meet my own.
Okay.
Thank you for sharing, Shani. Appreciate that. The person that dialed in from a block number, did you have a question for Ms. Tate? Your line should be open.
Thank you very much again.
Oh, wait a minute. Sorry. Hang on before I get you, because there are people that have not got to ask a question at all. Just hang tight and I'll get you if you have a follow-up question.
Thank you.
The caller in Florida, did you have a question for Ms. Tate? Your line should be open.
Greetings, everyone. Can I be heard?
Yes, sir.
I came in kind of late, but I came just in time to listen to the previous caller. I would just like to commend the young lady on her awakening, and may she continue to head in a constructive direction. I would personally suggest that she continues to listen to the C.O.W.S program because I think it's a constructive source of information that will help her a lot into continuously heading in a constructive direction, albeit her home life is quite complicated, to say the least. Keep going. Ms. Tate, I would like to know your idea on a non-white black person, male or female, who is quote-unquote homosexual or lesbian, on what is your idea of that person reforming their behavior, and also if they are encountered into anti-sexual behavior with white people.
All right. Okay. Now that's addressed inside the book because in the process of talking about sex, you can't help but run into people who are so-called lesbian or into anti-sex or homosexuality. In terms of the sex that we are engaged in, white people are the promoters, they are the teachers of all kinds of sex. Usually a black male who may be homosexual, down the line can trace that to another white man. We are in the same thing with a black female who may be lesbian. If we go back and find out who had anti-sex with each other, we would find that it might be a white woman somewhere in there down the line. Whoever, what they say, brought her into that lifestyle. So usually the racist white people are behind this. The reason why they are behind it, because they count the numbers. They count the numbers of black babies and black people being born. They are concerned with that. Okay, so if 2 males, they cannot produce a baby. 2 females cannot produce a baby. They have to keep the numbers of black people down, so they have to have us into a whole bunch of anti-sexual behavior, because they're watching the numbers of black people that's being produced. Okay, so this is the reason why they got black people off into this anti-sexual stuff, because we cannot produce a whole lot of black people, because in some ways or another they feel that they will go extinct if we are able to do that. Okay, and so therefore they have to have this kind of anti-sex going on, so that nothing is being produced among black people. This is like population control among black people. You understand what I'm saying? Population control.
If that non-white black person, would they be able to pull themselves out of that toilet? And if so, how could they?
How could they get themselves out of that?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. How can they come away from doing that? Well, I didn't write the book, but there's books out there. There's a guy that wrote a book talked about on the down low. They may have to do some reading in his book, because we understand that he came out of it, but it was difficult. And I don't know if he was how much he's willing to share, but you may have to get his book and see what he said, because I understand he came out of that, but they said it was difficult.
Yes.
So everything is out there, all the information is out there in the book. And I don't know what the name, but I guess it's on the download, but that might be a good book to read or whatever, see what he has to say about that. But they did say that he came out of that, that type of lifestyle. Yeah, we are not trying to, black males and females, we do want, really, you're confused about your identity when you into that kind of lifestyle. You are really confused. Your identity is lost. Okay, and I talked about that in the book on how white men go about making lesbians among black females. See, and that's in I don't know if that's chapter 2. But
yes, I remember in a couple of your talks on the program before that you spoke about it. Yes.
Yeah. So that's in the book. So they are behind this. All anti-sex, because you got to remember now, the black male, he moves around the planet. He can turn the whole planet black. Okay? See, it's why a lot of times the white female, she don't want to have that baby by that black male. When they say if they love black people so much, And I asked them, do they want to have, would they take care of and be willing to have a jet black baby? Okay, and then that's when they get off. They start acting stupid then, the white people, because they know that it's a possibility that they will have a dark baby, a black baby with a black person. You see, because the black male can change no matter who he with, he can change the whole planet black. Okay, so this is why he's always in a war, because he can change to make the whole planet black. The black male can, okay? All right? Yes. Not the black female, the black male. So this is why the attack is always on the male, because he can change the whole planet.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? Yeah, because everybody the black male touch, the baby turns black. Chinese, no matter who he touch,
yes, ma'am,
the baby turns black. See? So this is why the attack is on black males too. Okay? Because the white man really feels threatened by that fact that he's got this genetic potential, or this type of genetic potential to turn the world black like that. He don't like it. He got to keep black males doing something else except for creating other black life, you know.
Right.
He want him in jail, dead, and on drugs, okay, because the attack is with the black male, because he can change things.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And then that's why a lot of times when you go to bed with white people, you know, white people, also the black female, she can make a black baby too, of course. And that's why the white men don't even want to penetrate her. That's why a lot of times they didn't have sex. He did a whole lot of playing around, a lot of licking and all that kind of stuff, because he didn't want to put his penis there, too. Okay, he didn't want to put the penis with the black person because he's going to create another black person. Okay. See, that's why I was telling black females. We are black. We are not white women. We are not going to be treated like white women because we cannot have, on a regular basis, we cannot have little white boys and girls.
Right. I don't think white males are interested in having non-white black children.
No. No. They want white boys and girls. And we can't produce that. Now, every now and then a black female will produce. You know, we have seen it in the news, but not on a regular basis. So she produced a white baby.
Right.
Okay. So yeah, that's why they got this gay thing going on. You know, they just promote it. All they do is put it on TV. You know, and everybody follow. Because that's how they work with black people. We follow. We just go along with it. You know, put it on TV, glamorize it, and then black people, we take it on. We follow behind it. You know, be just as confused and everything. So yeah, when you confused, right, keep you confused. Right. Take your mind from you when you don't have your own mind. Because you don't know what sex you are. You're looking at your penis, but you still think you're a female.
Right.
See how it is? You looking down, and in the female case, you are coming on your period. And you still believe you're a male. And your body is going through changes every month. But you still believe you're a male? You see? How y'all, you know, it's confused. You're confused. You know, to see females, we go through changes every month. And then you got a lot of females looking like males. Males don't bleed, we bleed. You understand what I'm saying? So they got us messed up. And then, you know, of course, you see that around a lot of young people, very young people walking around here. Because, see, that's who they go after, that young generation. Once they get them, then the rest will follow. You see?
Yes, ma'am.
Wow. They go after the young generation.
Wow. Well, I'll just listen and let someone else get a chance to ask you questions. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, good. I hope I answered yours, yes.
The caller, we have about 5 minutes left before we conclude. The caller, I think you had a follow-up question. Did you have something else you wanted to get in before we wrap things up?
Yes, may I be heard?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Ms. Tate, for your constructive answers this evening. Now, my definition of justice is guaranteeing that no person is mistreated and guaranteeing that the person that needs help the most gets the most constructive help. What is your definition for the callers that are maybe first-time listeners that don't know what your definition of justice is? So that I think that it's very important that when you say justice, for those callers who may not have a clear definition of what justice is, please provide us with your definition of justice.
My mentor is Willie Fuller. He was my mentor. I, just like you, started off with his book. And from there, I did a lot of reading. And from there, I learned based on what was written in the code. I go along with that too. And okay, and of course, we can always add to that. We got guaranteed rights. Because I like to add to that killing. These killings and all, that same thing, no people are hurt. I want to see that no such thing about killing people. I want that to be a thing of the past. I want them to say that was something that the generation that we used to do when we were uncivilized. Because see, right now, on this planet, there's no civilized human beings on this planet. Okay? So that's how. Yes.
Thank you.
All right, then. And thank you.
Right on. I think we hit all of the callers. I checked the switchboard. I didn't see any other hands, and that would also be our 3-hour mark. Thank
you.
Enjoyed it. Is there any other information? Like, are there any? I guess is there a specific site that you would prefer people go to get your book, or anything that you?
Yeah, they can go to Amazon.com and get a copy of the book, Pieces of a Puzzle. Amazon.com. Of course, Reneathia Tate. That's my name. Yeah.
Right on. Any closing thoughts you would like to leave people with? Anything you would like them to ponder on, think about as we get ready to conclude?
Yeah, I could just, we could talk about, my subject matter tonight was a little bit of sex and war. And again, we are to ask questions. We are to refrain from having sex with white people as a form of self-control, controlling ourselves. We're talking about black males and black females, and all non-white people alike. We are to refrain from having sex. We want to grow mentally. We don't want no mental scars. We want them to produce justice. We want to deprogram ourselves, and we want to also know what justice is before we ask for it. But that's what we want to ask for. If they ask you what you want, say you want justice. You do not want money. Money runs out. We want our conditions to change our whole entire condition. All right, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you for sharing a bit of your Sunday evening. Definitely enjoyed hearing from you once again. The book, Pieces of a Puzzle, as she just said. You can get it Amazon.com. You can just put in Pieces of a Puzzle, search under books. It should pop up. If you get confused, you can definitely let me know, and I will direct you in the correct spot. I've written a review of the book. It should be on Amazon.com. It's also on my blog. I have some excerpts from the book, a few passages that stood out to me that I thought were significant. You can check that out and kind of get an idea of what the book entails. You can also go back in the archives. We've talked about the book extensively. I think particularly the first 2 times that Ms. Tate was a guest on the program, where we read quite a bit from some of the chapters in the book and got more details if you want to get more info on what's in Pieces of a Puzzle. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I hope folks got something constructive from the broadcast. And again, we'll be back on Wednesday evening. Professor Charles Cobb, his book, That Nonviolent Stuff Will Get You Killed. Same program time, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Very much looking forward to hear from him. Any non-white person that you know who says that the problem is that black people are cowards and we don't fight back and that's why racism still exists, you should make sure that they tune into that program, because nothing could be further from the truth, and that is astronomically disrespectful to black people, current and ancestors, who did the exact opposite, including killing white people in response to white terrorism, racism. But that'll be Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. Let me know if you have questions, can't find something in the archives, get confused. You can drop me an email, untiljustice@gmail.com. untiljustice@gmail.com. We're also on Twitter @untiljustice. Invest if you think the broadcast is constructive. Racism-notes.blogspot.com. PayPal is in the top right corner. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. I hope you all have a constructive Sunday evening and get ready and realize that you will be doing battle Monday morning when you hit the plantation, the J.O.B. Be prepared. Do not be surprised. Expect any form of terroristic, trifling behavior. Be prepared, stay calm, use your words, and definitely, I think that was a major theme this evening, ask questions calmly, even with a smile, if you can, but ask questions. That can do a lot to keep you out of trouble and to minimize racist attacks on the job. Thanks all. We will be back soon. Creator, we ask that you help us remain patient with other black people, victims of racism, white supremacy. We ask that you help us remain patient with ourselves. Help us manifest black self-respect at all times in all areas of people, activity, and never forget our ancestors who've gone before us attempted to solve this problem. Context of White Supremacy signing out. Thanks all for tuning in.
I'm a victim, brother.
You're a victim.
I'm a victim of 400 years of conditioning.
Shut up.
The man has programmed my conditioning. Even my conditioning has been conditioned.